Okay. I'm told that there are no speakers, so if I can ask for a approval of the minutes, please.
Motion made. Second.
In favor? Opposed? Thank you. Linda, to the work plan.
Some changes to the committee work plan. We were going to be doing an East Side Access Queens risk review discussion this month, but since we are coming back to the committee in September, as we discussed last month with a full discussion of some of the out-of-the-box mitigations for East Side Access, we're dedicating the entire meeting next month to that full discussion of East Side Access. So in September, I had planned to do some discussion of the railroad RCM, Reliability Center Maintenance Program, and their car procurements. We're moving that till October so that we can have a full discussion in September of East Side Access. In addition, this month we were supposed to do the New York City Transit report on subway car procurements. They are in the midst of negotiations on the large ones, and so it's premature. I will reschedule it as soon as there are things that we can talk about in open session. So the rest of the agenda for today stays the same.
Okay. So I think the main order of business to try to go to is the work from the Capital Construction Company, Fulton Street Transit Center and 2nd Avenue Subway. And in doing this, we'd both like to hear from CCC and from the independent engineer and consultant in regard to both pieces. So, Michael, do you want to start?
Yes, we'll start with Fulton Street Transit Center. The schedule overall project is on schedule. We have pictures. Okay. First slide, please. Okay. The project is on schedule for June 2014 and is well within the current budget of $1.4 billion. Actually, it's trending below. The progress that was in the steel erection is on schedule. Anyone going down to the intersection of Fulton and Broadway can see that. And 4 or 5 escalator is being installed as we speak. We expect to have a delivery of the escalator for the East Mezzanine AC, and we expect to open 135 Williams on Monday. The next is opening of the Cortlandt Street R Station, and that will open on or before 9/11. And we have a temporary transfer structure that looks very much like a final piece of work, but it's only temporary, the connection between AC and 4-5 in order to protect the passengers. Next. In general, our total expenditures on the projects are trending ahead of schedule. That means it doesn't mean we're spending more money, but it means that we will end up the project earlier. And that's hold the same for the third-party construction. We now have a contingency of 180 days. Excuse me? 146. I'm sorry, it's 100. I'm sorry, 146. We started with 180. We're at 146 days, and the budget contingency that we started was 124. We now have a current budget of 117. So we spent about $9 million since last reported, but again, we are way ahead in terms of the amount of scheduled and cost contingency vis-a-vis the completion point that we are now. Now, there are some critical milestones that I'd like to address. One is, and one of them is really something that we have undertaken actually later, and this is to create a different public experience at the transit center when it will open. And remembering that this was the design started in the 2005 or 4, we needed to really look at new emerging technologies and create an environment that will be totally different than a current subway station. This is going to be truly a public space that we want to make it into a great public space. So that required us to take a look at some designs, and actually today at the committee meeting you have approved some additional design dollars to actually create that. All of that is expected to be well within our budget and not affect our schedule. So the expectation is that that will have absolutely no impact on the opening day. And we have ongoing impacts to customers that we try to alleviate the best we can, but this is something that we're working with the New York City Transit to ensure that passenger flows are moving smoothly, and I think we're doing pretty well there. Next, this is the things that we discussed. And originally we expected to open the Williams Street in May, and I have reported way back that will be delayed, will be done in July. And then the AC45 connection will be done this August, and the southbound platform will be completed in September. Most of the others are going to happen next year. And in 2013 we'll open in effect the AC mezzanine, so that will put AC in totally in for everyone, and with a building opening in 2014 June. That's now up the IEC.
Yes. We agree with the project's reported completion date and remaining contingency. Our concern is for these changes that are going to happen at the transit center for the enhancements. We believe that the impact can be considerable for schedule, depending on the degree and the timing of implementing the redesign, repackaging, the remaining work, negotiating the change orders, getting board approval, and the beginning of construction. So we're concerned with the schedule in that aspect. The project has agreed to review the cost and schedule for this work, for the station improvements, enhancements, and we'll be reporting back regarding this reduction in contingency.
Before you move on to Second Avenue, we should stop and ask if there's any discussion on Fulton Street. Well, comfortable? Okay.
One of the things I expect to come back to the committee actually in September to present the enhancement that we're putting in place. That will be reported to the committee at that time.
Thank you.
Second Avenue. We are on schedule to meet the December 2016 revenue service, and we are on budget. The highlights right now are the fact that we completed all the design for the fragile buildings, and mitigation work is proceeding as required to support construction, so there will be no delays due to the fact that we have to actually deal with the fragile buildings. They are being done ahead of the work that we need to undertake for the contract itself. We have actually, as of July 13, as of today, we completed 73% of the excavation, and we are at just about 71st Street. I think we're about to go between 71st and 70th. The 72nd Street cavern, and some of you that were at the meeting today, so that we are actually completing the enclosure of the mock houses. Will mitigate impacts, so that's proceeding well. And at 96th Street, we started the slurry walls, and you have seen the plan that we have there, and that's moving along. 90-day look ahead is the award of 86th Street Station Cavern. It's later than planned, in fact, significantly later. But we have, as you'll see, we're going to be putting in place mitigating measures. We have right now passed some of the hurdles with FTA, and we are just waiting for a letter of approval right now from FTA before we can move to award the contract. We have received proposal on the system contracts. This is 2 months later than planned. One of the things that we have a problem in New York is that when we have large system contracts, it's very hard to do it, to at least not to perform the work, but to get bids at the same time. So while we are in the process of getting the bids for number 7, we had to delay Second Avenue. Now that we're waiting for Second Avenue, we ended up delaying the East Side access. They do not have the capability of putting big bids proposal at the same time, primarily due to the fact that a lot of the work belongs to subs. There are many companies that bid, but the same subs end up being on this project, so they have limited capability of supplying the manpower to do that. Next.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Before you leave that slide?
Yeah.
Michael, those of us who were here early this morning saw what those muck houses look like, and they're obviously very close to people's windows. Is there going to be any odor emanating from those, or sound, or?
Now, in terms of sound, they're insulated because what we did, we moved away from diesel-driven engines to actually electrical motors. So the windshield will just going to be sliding back and forth. And so noise is going to be a great insulation. Dust will be a great insulation. About odors, there are very few odors that are emanating from these things, and sometimes they have to do with some of the residue from the blasting. I cannot tell you how that's going to fare out. As the deeper we go, the less that impact is actually being felt. So I expect that will be will mitigate most of the stuff. In addition to that, visual mitigations. I have worked with Arts for Transit, and we're going to have some really cheerful things showing on this thing that will make it at least a little more festive than it. Right now, it looks pretty much like a construction site. We're trying to get something a little better. Remember, this is a 20-foot wide, 45 feet tall, 200 feet long. So say them all. And we moved it away, by the way. We're now about 12 feet away from the building. That, by contract, they were allowed to go up to 7 feet. So we, in fact, went 40% more. So, hopefully will be good. Can't, people seem to like it. So that's only I can tell you. Next. This is the project cost and schedule performance. In this particular case, our construction is about 94% of the plan, so we are doing pretty good on that one. Clearly, if 86th Street would have been in the mix, we would have done a little better. We probably would have been even above plan, but that didn't happen. We hope that will happen soon. But there is a steady improvement in that way. Since March to June, we have actually done better, and we hope to do better come next time around when we report. Next. The project schedule contingency, we lost a lot of time, and the reason for the loss, and we, in effect, we lost close to 100 days, and that had to do with the 86th Street award. We were originally supposed to award this contract in March, and we are where we are today. However, we believe that if we can award it soon, and we believe we will be able to do that, there are mitigating measures that we are starting to work on that we believe that will actually bring it back in terms of the schedule, the use of schedule contingency. So that's actually we're optimistic about that. Regarding the budget contingency, we actually saw an increase of $12 million since last report, and that does not include some other information, including the one that once we put on the books, the 86th Street. We were going to add close to $100 million in contingency because our bid was $100 million below our budget. So these are actually, from a budgetary point of view, we're doing well, so it's less of a worry. Next. There are a number of issues here. The litigation at 72nd Street was resolved. favorably to us, so we can move on. So that you will not see it hopefully next time around. The fragile buildings, again, things are moving well and in a variety of locations. And we only had one building that we had to relocate tenants. I think that they're all students that got they got a bonus for the summer and a better quality of life by going into a hotel rather than into a. They don't have to cook for themselves. Next.
And they don't have a mug house outside their window.
They would have not had one anyway, so that's okay. 86th Street litigation. This is the Yorkshire Tower. Has to do with the fact that they are unhappy of the fact that we have put we have a planned entrance exit in front of their building, right now we are actually we had a settlement conference in July, and I think that we are reviewing some material. We may have another one or going directly to the judge, and we believe that we'll be successful on that one. But the proof is in the pudding. We'll wait to see. The 96th Street station is near critical path. Again, this is there are delays in the sewer installation that actually delay the installation of the slurry walls. At this point, Con Ed and Empire Empire Subways and Verizon completed their work, and actually slurry wall began in July. We are looking at mitigation to recapture the contract time and to complete it as close as possible to the time that we said that we will. So we can then turn the contract over to the next that will do the finishes. The 86th Street Station cavern contract that I touched upon was a delay in the award that resulted in partial loss. It has to do again with the approval from FTA. We have identified ways to recover the time. We believe that we're going to be okay there. And we are now waiting just to award the contract, and we are hopeful that August will be the time that we'll be able to. We have everything in place right now. We're waiting just for literally a letter. Next, at the IEC.
We agree that the project schedule contingency. We can report that the project's recovery plan is addressing what we see are the three critical success factors to restoring that contingency to something we're a little bit more comfortable with. That's getting 86th Street contract awarded, managing the risk of that contract once awarded, which is likely to extend its completion date from 1 to 4 months without mitigation, and continued close management of the delays at 96th Street. We agree also the project's on budget. We have noted, however, at MTA that after 4 months of discussion, the project and New York City Transit have yet to agree on a cost for the force account support for this project. They're approximately $10 to $15 million apart. This is not holding up construction, but it is the last piece of the puzzle of the project's reforecasting its entire costs, and we think it's about time that ought to be wrapped up and put with the rest of the package.
Thank you. Michael, you're going to do a very quick summary of the risk assessment, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a risk assessment done for the 86th Street cavern contract, and you have it all in the book in detail. I'm going to just do a quick summary of it. The risk and constraint. The risks are primarily in the achievement of production rates for the cavern excavation. We expect to do 400 cubic yards a day. And the constraints normally are due to allowable vibration limits, hours of blasting, mark removal techniques, and community relations that always impact us. But we are going to take a page from what we did for 72nd Street, and we believe that we'll be able to manage it successfully. Achievement of production rates for installation of concrete lining and waterproofing. Again, this is constrained by sufficient skilled labor for waterproofing and installation of in concrete operation. Again, these are things that we encounter basically as part of a day-to-day operation, so it's not necessarily our schedules normally account for the fact that we have these fluctuations. The access limitation at Chase Bank for construction of ancillary and resolution of a lawsuit for construction of entrance number 2 are a couple of things that have been identified. About the Chase Bank, just to put it in perspective, that requires us to do some curing of some infrastructure plan to the co-op next door. We already funded that. I think I brought it to the board, so that's proceeding, and we believe that that will be able to be successful there. As far as mitigation, clearly this is close monitoring and pre-planning processes. We have a lot of time to do pre-planning because this thing has taken time to be awarded, and in fact we have been able to come up with the scheme right now. Primarily, we will see that in which we are able to actually turn the area, the entry points earlier than expected to 86th Street people, because we are going to be finishing the way we're going with the tunneling. We will be we were already past that, and we'll be able to give them access. Probably we expected to do February. Now, as soon as we are going to be awarding, we're going to be able to provide access to that site.
Okay. Michael,
that's it.
Thank you. Anything on Second Avenue that people want to ask? Before we move on from the capital construction projects, I think it is important to make a point about this discussion today, because we have two of the largest projects in our capital program: the Fulton Street Transit Center at $1.4 billion, the Second Avenue Subway at $4.5 billion, and what we're looking at today, knock on wood, and clearly with some risks, but I think are two projects that are running on schedule and on budget right now. And I think that needs to be recognized. This is, I think, in the original conception of this committee, which Bill Goldstein set up many years ago. We described it, I think, at that time as the bad news committee. But the fact of the matter is that there's some really good news here, and I think today's discussion underscores that we're proceeding well, both our view of it and the independent engineer's view, again, not without some risks, as there always will be in projects of this size. But something that we should take note of in the way that it is, in the way it's going forth. East Side access, I'm afraid, will be a more complicated discussion when we get there in September. But today is today, so we'll take it as it goes. Okay. I'd also like to turn two parts of the next piece, which I'd like to let Michael Garner and his team speak to. One on MWBE participation, and second, an update on our small business mentoring program, which I think has been usually successful, and I'm very happy to do it. But why don't you go through the figures first, Michael, and talk about that, and then we can turn to the small business mentoring program.
Thanks, Jay. On the sheet, there is a 6-month snapshot of how we are doing with respect to our MWDBE goals. With respect to our capital construction projects, in every category, we are exceeding the goals. If you look at our FTA funded projects, the DBE goal is 17%. We are currently at 18%. If you look at our state funded projects, the MBE goal is 10%. We are at 12%, and the WBE goal is 5%, and we are currently at 6%. If you look at the next sheet, it is the most recent quarter, and the DBE inclusion number is 16%. The MBE number is 15%, and the WBE number is 8%. And so we are taking a real hard view of the goals that's being bid and awarded are the goals that's going to be achieved.
Thank you. You need to put your microphone on, please, Chip.
Do you have an assessment as to the quality of the production that has occurred by reason of the hiring of the DBEs and the MBEWs?
Okay, I'm not understanding your question.
Well, have they done good work? Have
Yes,
we
I mean,
been
we-
satisfied?
Yes, we hold all firms who are doing work for us to the same standard. And that standard is essentially that projects are going to be finished safely, timely, and on budget. And so the
Just wanted
MWB
it on the
population...
record.
Right, definitely. Let me say also that there's a variance...
I just wanted on the record they're doing good work.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And there's a variance in the totals because this total does not include our rolling stock or the projects that we have done in-house with our own forces.
Other comments, questions on the MWB goals? Okay. Why don't we turn to the mentoring program?
Yes. So what was a pipe dream 3 years ago is now real. The MTA Mentor Program has in fact been implemented. The goal of the program essentially is to create a larger pool of qualified contractors who can do, diverse qualified contractors who can do our work safely, timely, and on budget. And we are going to break down the barriers of entry by having access to capital, bonding, insurance, and knowledge-based training. By law, we were required to award at least $10 million the first year. We've exceeded that by in fact awarding $13.5 million. Of that, $10.9 million was awarded to MW, DBE certified firms in the first year. It is our goal to exceed this amount by half in the second year, which we have already started right now. And I'm going to turn this over to Emil Patel, who is a point person in charge of the program on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you, Michael. So the legislation was signed on July the 15th, 2010, authorizing and basically asking us to commit $10 million as a minimum in the first year for the program. So we had an aggressive time schedule because we had to hit the street running. And in order to do that, we aggressively began work even prior and did all the accelerated upfront work. We had conditional board approval of the construction manager to hire them, to pre-qualify the contractors because we needed to pre-qualify these contractors for the program, which we didn't. We had to just get started. We worked on developing the unified contract documents among all the agencies, the upfront specifications, to bring them all together into one standard documents to make it easy for the contractors to bid. What was our keys to the program success here? We felt that MTA had to take certain responsibility in order for the success, and we identified a couple of things. One is we had to have process simplification and some new procedures for this small business mentor program. We had to understand the roles and responsibilities for all the parties involved, starting from pre-qualifying contractors to selecting bidders, awarding the job, and executing and completing the work. And then the quick turnaround of certain elements during this phases to expedite the work and not hold up the contractor. The second was the transparency of the program. We put a lot of information on the website on the mta.info. One of them was the projects that have been awarded to date, projects that are going to be bid in the following quarter, and then put a listing of the contractors up who have been approved in the program. So what did that do? That maximized the opportunities for the contractors within the Small Business Mentor Program because it created synergy of these contractors to go and supply subcontract prices to the main contractors in the Small Business Mentor Program. And it also helped the larger contractors across the MTA to go and reach out to these contractors to meet their DBE goals. And all this is being done through the website of mta.info. Here is the year one commitment plan results that we have achieved to date in the first year by agency. Obviously, this will vary from year to year because, size of the projects, type of the work, the geographic location of the projects, and also the trying to bring the projects into the program. So it's a challenge because they have to break up the larger projects during the scope and design of these projects to bring them below the range of $1 million. Next. The transition from the year one to year two, we wanted to keep it seamless. So we had started working on the year two projects. We started in July 15th of 2011. We started a few months earlier, brought projects in. Now we already have 27 projects committed by various agencies, and we already have a bid schedule that has been developed. There is a project already out for bidding at this point, and all the projects are progressing in design. The goal is to have a total of at least $25 million worth of projects between year one and year two, of which we have already awarded $13.5 million. Just to give you a snapshot of the 25 awarded projects, 11 projects are in construction and they're progressing. The contract values of the 25 projects range from $117,000 to $893,000, which is the largest awarded project, and the durations range from 5 months to 2 years. We have finished our first project. It's been completed and closed out, which was a pointing project of the RFK Bridge Towers. And here are some of the pictures of existing versus what we did during the work. So here are the two projects that I'm just giving you some pertinent details. The first project that was awarded is here. It was a Junior Street Station stair canopy replacement. Engineer's estimate was $631,000. Our lowest bid was received from Arch Builders, who happens to be here, and their award amount was $560,000. We are 47% complete on that project. The owners of the firms are Ms. Salma Rashid and Ms. Saki Shah, who are in the audience today with us. The first project that we completed, as I mentioned earlier, was the RFK Tower Pointing project, where the estimate was $786,000 and the lowest bid we received was $409,000. We also have Rook Enterprises here, who was the low bidder, Mr. Harjit Singh. And he finished his job way ahead of schedule. So our original contract completion date was September of 2011. We finished on 5th of July. It was all accepted, and all the documents have been submitted by the contractor for closeout, and we anticipate paying the final bill in the next 3 or 4 days. So that was the feat. Earlier I spoke about some of the issues that we at the MTA needed to take some responsibility for. The key issues are project awards. We made sure that we awarded our projects. We set ourselves some goals of awarding it within 10 days. Now, in the 16 bids out of the 25, we were able to meet that goal. It was below the goal. In the 9 bids, we needed multiple tech qual hearings, and therefore we were slightly above the goal, not too much. On the payment side, we set ourselves a goal of paying within 10 days of getting the whole payment rec, and we did it within 7 days, around 7 days. The submittals were at 10 days was our goal, and we kept it below that. The request for information, we had a goal of 5 days. We are slightly above. We are working very hard to try to bring it below the 5. Michael?
Thanks, Emil. Let me say that our goal for the current program is to admit at least 200 firms in the program. We are currently at 117. Of the bid amounts or the bids that we open, There were 200 bidding opportunities. We have a training program, and the goal of that training program is to train our contractors to finish our projects safely, timely, and on budget. Training is mandatory. If a contractor who is in a program does not take training, they can't bid. Our loan program. We have one loan issued. There is a second loan in process right now. Our goal is to increase this by about 15 loans before the year is out. Carver had some issues, but those issues have been resolved, so Carver is open for business. Moving forward, the current focus on the program is for our state-funded projects. We have a correspondence into the FTA asking them for the right to allow us to create a FTA mentor program, and we are still waiting for a response right now. We are going in every county, and we want to have our goal essentially, if there's a bid opening in Nassau County, we want 8 contractors from Nassau County bidding on that project. We are going to expand our policies and procedures, and we are going to focus on improvement. Let me say that great players win scoring titles, but teams win championships. This has been a team effort. All of the agencies, our chairman, Jay, wanted us to finalize every aspect of this program. So when the bill passed, we were going to hit the ground running, and we did that. From Linda to Ron Saporita, who canceled retiring because he wanted to see this program up and running. This has been a team effort. Let me also say that we are sitting here and having a record number of contracts being awarded to our MWDB contractors. In a very, very short period of time, we have turned around the external view that the MTA was anti-MWBE. But under our chairman, who from day one got behind this program, we are sitting here talking about results. And Mark Page, the mayor, has said that he's not satisfied with the city's effort of awarding contract awards to MWBE firms, and he has charged Goldsmith to create a citywide mentor program. So this program is taking legs, and it is doing the job that it should do. So thank you.
Discussion.
I think that the results that you reported are noteworthy, and very pleased that has happened in my tenure on the board. Not that I've had any direct input or hand in that, but it's good to be a witness to it. And also very pleased that some of your contractors are here in the audience, and wish them well. Happy that they were able to participate in this program. It would seem to me that it might be useful also to do a 360 with your contractors at the end of the day, and get some feedback from them on how they feel the project or the process has worked for them.
Yes.
So that you can get a heads up and guidance for your own future plans. And if any of that is worth sharing with the committee, I'm sure we'd be pleased to hear it.
Great, it sounds good. Let me also say that the board has been super supportive with the goals that we are achieving today, and Susan Mesker has been our biggest champion, along with others on the board. And so I want to just say thank you.
Commissioner Blair, I'd just like to say, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'd just like to say we will actually commit to returning to the board with results, because that is part of the process. We will be doing a completion review with all the contractors. What did we do well? What did we do poorly? And so we can, in fact, improve our organization. We commit to come back to you.
Susan?
It's very good of you to show how big the team is, because it took all of these people to bring this about. It took us more than 3 years to get the approvals we needed to do this, and you guys made a promise that you would have it going with $10 million in the first year, and you exceeded that. The leadership that the four of you have shown was really what it took, saying we are going to do this. But I want to remind the board that we don't do this out of the goodness of our hearts and go back to what our purpose was, which was to start meeting our goals on minority contributions to our capital and construction programs. We glossed over the fact that we were meeting our goals today, but I want you to take a look at the difference between how much we exceed our goals on the state projects, which is the lower part of this table, versus the federal projects. This mentoring program right now is restricted to our state-funded projects. I have a feeling that if we can go ahead with a more federal project, you'll see the same kind of jump in numbers for our federal projects. And also, in response to the suggestion that you do a 360 with your contractors, if any of the board members have one of the outreach programs in their area, I recommend that you go sit in on it, not so much to listen to what the MTA is saying or what our contractor is saying, but to talk to the contractors, because at least in my county, it's really brought about a different way of viewing MTA. These contractors now feel that they can do business with MTA, which is not the feeling that they had up until now. So I really think that the program is showing a lot of legs in a lot of directions, and it's also kind of changing the MTA image a little bit so that small businesses feel that they can actually do business with us. And that's what our goal is. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Let me just take a moment to echo the what's already been said. I think we should, again, recognize this path. I think Susan speaks incredibly well to it and the time that it's taken to be able to get there. But also the pleasure that I've had actually working with people across all of the agencies in doing this. We sat at this table last week, I guess it was, with the leaders from each agency who have been doing this, and everyone is proud. Everyone is proud, and I have to tell you that when you sit and Michael and Emil today are the spokespeople for this, but the people around the table are proud of what they've accomplished, and that's great. Because if we can harness that pride and build off it, we will continue to drive this forward in ways that are really, really terrific. I also think as here we shouldn't miss the fact that we've also proven that we can do some things in this program and its little incubated space that we really need to take into the larger space as well. And I think that's one of the challenges that we have going forward here. Let's not run before we walk. Let's continue to incubate it here. But as we do that, we will have the opportunity to take that forward, change some of the things that are going on around the business, and actually make the standards we're applying here, which seem extraordinary, the standard that we're using for the rest of the business that we do in the company. So, thank you. Last but not least, Linda, for capital program status.
Just to bring you up to date from the report that we gave last month, there were 5 commitments that were delayed beyond 2 months from last month to this. They are mostly, again, some of the large projects. There's the New York City Transit 123A division cars. There is the VHF radio system upgrade and a large contract for East Side Access. As you can see from the report, the agencies forecast, however, that 92% of their goal for commitments for this year will be made by the end of the year. So these are pushed to later in the year, but they're largely expected to be made this year. Similarly, on commitments, I believe there were 2 commitments that moved out later than we had, not commitments, completions, I'm sorry, that are later than we had anticipated. But by the end of the year, we also expect 92% of all completions that are expected this year to be made. That report's in the book. If there are any other questions, we can answer them.
Is there any other business before the committee? Hearing none, we are both adjourned, and I believe on time. I'll leave the 5 minutes and 59 seconds to somebody else.
All right.